Hey guys, what's going on? Ammaar here. So today I wanted to talk about my Surface laptop. So this is the first generation, so the original laptop that came out around 3 years ago, and for the past 2 years I've been using it daily as my daily driver, kind of besides my main computer. And yeah, I have some thoughts about it. So the original concept of the Surface laptop was meant to be a sort of a middle ground between their Surface Pro and Surface Go laptop replacements, which is essentially like a tablet with a keyboard that you can detach and put on whenever you want to, and the larger Surface Book, right? So the Surface Book is essentially a much more powerful Surface Pro that you can dock the tablet onto the base, and then it gives you a lot more performance, right? Unfortunately, that's a lot more expensive, so a lot of people were looking for Microsoft to get an actual laptop, right? And they finally answered around 3 years ago with their first ever Surface laptop, right? So it's just a traditional clamshell laptop, and it's built actually really well. So instead of using magnesium alloy like the Surface Pro and the Surface Book, this one uses machined aluminum. So this is just unibody aluminum, and it's anodized according to whichever color you pick. So there are four main colors, and those are burgundy, graphite gold, cobalt blue, and platinum. So like I said before, it's actually built incredibly well. There's essentially no flex for the outside of the chassis, and yeah, overall it can survive day-to-day activities in a backpack or something. The laptop itself weighs around 3 pounds or 2.76 pounds, and for me it's been incredibly light. I really can't feel it in my backpack. I generally forget that I have it, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not so good because I forget that I even have it in the first place. The only real issue with the design is that there's a small gap between the top of the lid of the laptop, the screen, and the body itself. So that allows dust particles or something to come in, and then it ends up kind of dirtying the screen. So moving on to the inside, we see the screen, which is a 13.5-inch pixel sense display with the resolution of 2256 by 1504, and most importantly for me is that it's a 3:2 aspect ratio. Now a lot of people don't know about aspect ratios that much, but the 3:2 monitor is essentially 16:9 but a bit taller. So it allows you to see more of your screen when you're scrolling through web pages, when you're scrolling through like Word documents, when you're working on anything that's productivity based, which is why I love it so much, because when I'm doing schoolwork or something I can see more of my screen, so I don't have to zoom in as much or zoom out as much on like PDF documents or when I'm working on a Word doc or something. The display is extremely color accurate, and its contrast levels are really good. So it has deep blacks, it has rich whites, and it's just absolutely incredible to look at. The Surface laptop is also Surface Pen enabled, so that's the tiny little pen that the Surface Pro is usually known for, but I wouldn't recommend it because the screen actually wobbles quite a bit when you try to touch it. And it is a touch screen, but in my experience I don't really use it as a touch screen that much because of that wobble mainly, so that's something to keep in mind. Now as for the keyboard, it's also really good. So it has excellent travel. It's not too shallow like the older MacBook keyboards were, and overall they're an extreme joy to type on. Now one thing you'll notice on the inside near where the palm rests are this Alcantara material. This is essentially a fabric that's used on luxury sports cars, or more commonly as most people know it to be on the Surface Pro line, right? So it's essentially this fabric type material that's incredibly soft and it feels really nice, but personally I have mixed feelings about it, because if you look at this shot right here, you'll notice that the fabric is like kind of tainted, right? And that's because of all the sweat from my palms, because I've been setting them down on this Alcantara material and they've been absorbing all of the sweat. And here in Texas it's really hot, so all of that sweat is essentially being locked into the fabric and making it not as appealing as the first day that I got it. The trackpad's also really good, so it uses Windows Precision drivers, which make its tracking really accurate, and I have essentially zero complaints from that. Also, one thing I forgot to mention was the broken backspace key. So that was because my sister essentially dropped the laptop and the key broke. I couldn't find a replacement for it, and to fix that one key, they were charging like $500, so I decided to just like leave it out completely. So as for the webcam 720p, it's actually pretty good quality, and it has pretty good audio as well. It's a lot better than most like Windows laptops, and a lot better than actually most MacBooks also. I think all MacBooks, because they have like 480p webcams. But yeah, it's HD, it's fine for Zoom, video calling, whatever. And yeah, here's the demo. Alright, so this is a webcam test of the Surface laptop. It's not bad, I think it's 720p, and this is an audio test as well. One thing you'll also notice with the webcam is that it actually uses Windows Hello. So Windows Hello is like the face recognition software used by Windows for logging into your laptop without having to type in anything. So it uses your face to log into your laptop, essentially. And it works pretty well, actually. You can improve the recognition if it doesn't work well the first time, but overall I've had no complaints with this so far. Alright, so moving on to the specs. The original Surface laptop came with the i5-7200U and the i7-7500U, and both of them were dual core, and I think this is the part of the laptop where it really falls short, right? Because in terms of its CPU, dual core processor is fine for most everyday tasks, but unfortunately the main kicker comes to the RAM. So my configuration has only 4 gigs of RAM, and for anyone that's looking to get a laptop, 4 gigs of RAM is simply not enough. It is not enough at all. You cannot have a ton of apps open. Chrome doesn't work well with 4 gigs of RAM at all. The performance is just boggling. It just bogs the whole laptop down. 8 gigs of RAM is substantially better. If you were to get this exact same laptop, I would highly recommend for any laptop minimum 8 gigs of RAM, because it's going to be a lifesaver. Moving on to storage, it came in 128 gigs, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte. I obviously got the 128 gigabyte version. I've had zero issues because I only use it for school. I don't really have a lot of programs on it anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal for me. It also uses 802.11 AC Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0, both of which I've had zero problems with so far in terms of connectivity. The Surface laptop also uses Windows 10s, or at least it used to come with Windows 10s. The Surface Laptop 2 and 3 don't come with anymore. They just come with Pro out of the box. And so I really won't talk about what S is, but essentially know that Windows 10 Pro is much better than it, and Windows 10s is like, it's like makes your laptop into a Chromebook kind of thing, and it's like not that good at all, so you shouldn't use it. So the battery life is actually surprisingly good. So they claim around 14.5 hours, but I'm getting more about like 9.5 to 10 hours, which is still really good, because at the end of each school day I used to have around 40 to 50% left, and I would never need to bring my charger unless I had some stuff after school that I had to go to. So in terms of that, I think it's really good. And you know, that's one of the advantages of having a low power laptop, is that you don't need to worry about battery life at all, because it's essentially a non-issue, right? Because you're not using that much power in the first place. Alright, so for final thoughts, the Surface Laptop 1, if you're looking to get in 2020, I would most likely not recommend it. And there's a couple of reasons why. So the first reason is that the Surface Laptop 3 and 2 are a lot more powerful, so especially the third generation has much more powerful specs. And it's really not that much of a difference, to be honest, in price. If you're looking for a laptop under 1K, right? If you're looking for a laptop under $500, I would highly recommend for you to not focus on the brand and to just get the most powerful laptop from any brand you can, because at that price you shouldn't be worried about the brand like I was, because I had to pay for it for my 4 gigs of RAM. So now, if you're looking at the Surface laptop as compared to something like the Surface Go, which today costs around $400 to $500, so around the same range, I would probably recommend for you to get the Surface Go, depending on your workflow, right? Because the Surface Go, I think the inking feature and the removable type cover is, in my opinion, a lot more valuable than a traditional laptop. Because I think for students, like being able to take notes on a tablet and being able to remove the Alcantara keyboard in case it gets dirty are really, really important features for me. Although I'd recommend to get the Surface Pro since it's a little bit bigger, it's like not cramped and stuff. The Surface Book is probably very expensive for most people, especially students. I would probably not recommend it for those of you who are watching this video. But in my personal opinion, I would recommend something different, right? Because I feel like if you are a student, you would not value design over performance in most cases, right? And that's sort of the overarching theme of this review, is that this first generation model, this model specifically, values its design over its performance, right? And it sort of charges less for that, but it becomes a problem later on that you'll notice. That's my conclusion in terms of that. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more in terms of reviews, in terms of cinematics, b-roll. Still trying to figure out exactly what I'm trying to do on this channel. And yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day.